Did you notice in Spider-Man No Way Home, when Spider-Man takes the cube from Doctor Strange to save the lives of the villains, Doctor Strange pushes Peter's astral form out of his body, as his body still goes about defending itself, thanks to Peter's spider sense that you can see radiating from his head, similar to how it does in the comics, which is a really cool touch for the VFX artist to add. When Peter meets with Matt Murdock to discuss the charges being pressed against him for his actions as Spider-Man, you can see a newspaper behind him called Web of Destruction, showing the incidents that occurred at the New York Ferry, Washington, D.C., and one other one that's rather hard to make out, and I'm sure Peter's glad that Aunt May got the Spider-Man hate article to bring back home and frame the darn thing in the window. When Peter's identity as Spider-Man is revealed and he evades the helicopters and half of the city, who immediately jump to the conclusion that he's a murderer and riot against him, he makes it home to his apartment and puts on the "I survived my trip to New York" t-shirt that Tony got him in the first movie, that unlike then happens to fit now to symbolize how he's grown both physically and as a hero, which is immediately put down by the fact that this entire heart-wrenching movie happens because he refuses to listen to Doctor Strange when he tells him to stop talking. After Peter and his friends and family are arrested, during MJ's interrogation scene, she is revealed to have two last names being Jones and Watson, confirming that she is, in fact, a variant of Mary Jane Watson, if the nickname MJ didn't already give that away. When all three Spider-Men go to the renovated Statue of Liberty, where Tom Holland clotheslines Andrew Garfield, who then webs Tobey Maguire in the face, all three of them have a meeting about how to work as a team, with Andrew Garfield stopping everyone as they're about to take off again, saying, "Wait, I love you guys," which wasn't actually in the script, and is why the other two look so confused, and why the audience absolutely loves Andrew Garfield and this iconic bromance moment. After the three Spider-Men cure the majority of the villains and are speaking to Doctor Strange, the Green Goblin shows up to steal the cube, where you can faintly hear the sound of Tobey's spider sense from the original trilogy go off, as the camera zooms in on him, with an "oh no, not this guy who killed himself after trying to kill me again" look all over his face. At least Tobey is aware of Green Goblin's weapons and tactics, and surely won't get stabbed just like he didn't the last time. As Peter is talking to the lady from MIT to give him and his friends a second chance, he encounters Doc Ock, who eventually tries to kill him by stabbing him in the chest. If you look closely after the attack fails, when Peter says, "I am so confused right now," you can see that the nanosuit actively repairs the mark that the blade left on it, which surely is a cool attention to detail that the rushed VFX artist could have left out, but decided not to just for us crazy fans who look for all the little details. Also, when Peter surprises Doc Ock by taking control of his arms with the nanotechnology, you can see that the lights of the arms go from being red to blue, symbolizing the arm's sudden change of heart from Tony's AI-altering nanomachines, because my gosh, Tony learns from his mistakes and red is the color of evil. Which isn't nearly as cool of a detail as seeing when all three Spider-Men are being electrocuted, Tobey Maguire's Peter seems to be exhausted afterwards, since his webs come from inside his body, meaning that his insides and special spider glands were thoroughly shocked as well. After the city discovers that Peter Parker is Spider-Man and Peter attempts to go back to school, the do-a-flip guy from Spider-Man Homecoming can be seen in the crowd saying the same exact line, because he met Spider-Man that one time, had a special moment, and now wants to troll him about it during a clearly hard time for the character. As Peter takes MJ for a terrifying "let's run for our lives" swing through New York, during their swing through Times Square you can see a giant billboard for the awe-inspiring Rogers the Musical that Hawkeye liked so much that he decided to leave during the intermission after seeing himself torque it out on stage. My favorite detail has to be during the credits of all things, cause when Tobey's name and picture comes up you can see the chemical structure for not only 2-deoxyribose, which is the sugar that makes up the backbone of the DNA molecule, but more importantly the structure for serine, that happens to be the protein that spider silk is made from, hinting that Tobey's spider was obviously different from the other two and altered his body to also be able to produce spider silk of his own, and apparently at an inexhaustible rate where he doesn't have to eat massive amounts of protein or his own silk like real spiders just to keep up the energy required for him to swing around the city. A circulating theory is that since Ned is wearing the colors orange and blue throughout the movie, he will at one point in the series try to kill Peter as the Hobgoblin, which would be either an insanely mind-blowing villain inclusion for the future, or be just a silly theory since the colors from Midtown High School, as seen on its cheerleaders' flags and gym uniforms, are indeed orange and blue. When Peter decides to catch up to the admissions officer from MIT and asks her to reconsider letting them in, then, the suit he's wearing is actually the same one that Tobey wears when he goes on a date with MJ at the start of Spider-Man 3 when the Venom symbiote first lands on Earth. And now my theory senses tell me that Ned is sure to be the next Venom because he wore a black shirt that one time. Once Peter goes through the cringing process of his teachers showing him the school's Spider-Man shrine, he and MJ go up to the roof, where she reads an article suggesting that Spider-Man has powers of seduction, and now MJ is one of his spider minions, which is a reference to not Spider-Man but Spider-Woman, who used her actual spider seductive powers as an agent working for S.H.I.E.L.D. As we see Peter pushing past the crowd of protesters, we see someone holding a sign saying "Devil in Disguise," which happens to be the same sign a protester holds in the Spider-Man story Crisis on Campus, and could also be a nod to the time when the Devil Mephisto made a deal with Spider-Man. Spider-Man told everyone his identity under the guidance of Tony Stark that culminated in Peter Parker going to Doctor Strange to cast a spell to undo the fact that everyone knew he was Spider-Man, and he couldn't go anywhere without people holding up signs saying that he was the devil for stopping psychopathic villains like Mysterio, and now we're just going in circles. During the climactic battle at the Statue of Liberty, when the spell starts going out of control, you can see the silhouettes of Black Cat, Kraven, Scorpion, Rhino, and Mysterio, and one that looks like Superior Spider-Man, which is a version of Spider-Man where a dying Doc Ock switches bodies with Peter Parker and becomes a villainous Spider-Man, hired a bunch of Spider minions, and began violently punishing criminals before realizing that Peter's consciousness still exists within his body, and Doc Ock then sacrifices himself so Peter can live again. And did I say that this movie has all the nods? Because it has all the nods. Once again, when Spider-Man and MJ find themselves face to face with a trifecta of helicopters, all who manage to homecoming in on Spider-Man's position, Spider-Man decides to leave MJ standing by herself on the Queensboro Bridge, where she could very well fall off, which is exactly what happens to her variant who is dropped from the same bridge by the Green Goblin in the first Spider-Man film. You may have seen that when Peter and Aunt May are opening Peter's college acceptance letters, that both Peter and Tony's robot, Dumb E, are building the same Lego Death Star that Ned dropped in Homecoming, after realizing that Peter's Spider-Man and he'll have to fight him to the death one day as a rampaging Orange Goblin. Additional hidden Easter eggs include when Spider-Man is falling through the wormhole in the credits, his suit flashes between the different ones seen between the three Peters in the movie, and the forever classic Spider-Man pointing meme that has survived since freaking 1968, that has found its way into all the movies, has appeared to come back at us one more time. When Doctor Strange walks past a newsstand, you can see Peter's old Homecoming date Liz Toombs on the cover of People magazine, with the quote, "He's a liar," written on it. I mean, you have to get famous somehow. When Peter's talking to his amazed teachers at school, you can see a mural behind him of famous scientists and innovators that is also featured in Homecoming, except this time Hank Pym has been added to the mural, thanks in part to the I Saved the Universe book written by Ant-Man. And did you notice the heart-wrenching detail that, unless your name is the Scarlet Witch, when everyone forgets that Peter Parker exists, Peter moves into his new apartment at the end of the film, where he places the very same Lego Palpatine on his desk that Ned used to invite him over to build the Lego Death Star in Homecoming. Love may be forgotten or stalled, but the power of nerd transcends all magic spells.